Welcome, everyone. And I'm so honored to introduce somebody that I have become a big fan of. Ellen Siegel is with us today. And Ellen is in Gainesville, Florida, and is very active in climate and faith within her faith community and in interfaith circles as well. And she is really dedicating her life to spearheading this local initiative within the faith community of climate action. And she has a whole lot that she could share with us. But today, because we're entering into the holiday season, we've asked Ellen to just share with us a little bit about how we can live out our faith, care for the more than human world, the climate, be climate stewards and advocates, while also celebrating our holidays. So she will introduce herself, but I did also want to give the CLEO Institute a shout out, and we'll add that to the chat for you to check that out a little more. So I'll turn it over to you, Ellen.
You're muted, Ellen.
4,000 Zoom programs under my belt, and I still do that. I want to acknowledge that, Carol, you've already set in motion the discussions we're going to have. And I do want everyone on this Zoom to know that this is a back and forth lunch and learn, and that Carol and I are going to be sharing the discussion leading with some questions. So enjoy your lunches and kind of sit back and enjoy it. I did want, rather than my resume, because everyone on this program has a 2 or 4 or 5 or 10 page resume. I wanted I wanted you to know why, as a Jewish person in Gainesville, I am so thrilled to be speaking with you on this topic. I come from Miami, where I lived for 44 years. And there, while there, I helped build an interfaith circle of environmental faith activists, not only my Jewish tribe from my synagogue, but also dear Christian and Catholic friends. We have no Episcopalians here, but Reverend Willie Allen Fallella became a very dear friend at St. Stephen's. Teresa Casal and Tania Cespedes were very active in a Laudato Si circle in Miami. And the connections that we have, as you said in your opening prayer, Carol, the connections are very strong and very deep and very meaningful. I moved to Gainesville as a climate migrant. If you follow the news about South Florida, South Florida is just ground zero for almost every single possible impact that a warming globe can have. So I moved to Gainesville so I wouldn't have to be an old lady dealing with those things that were going to be very, very difficult to do. I got here just before COVID. I didn't know anybody, and I had to start over. There are 500 faith communities in Alachua County where I live, and only 2 synagogues. So it was really great that the universe, God, as I know, God, put the National Faith and Climate Forum in front of me. And it gave me an opportunity to do what I knew how to do with people I did not yet know, and many who have become very fast friends in just the 2 years since the first National Faith and Climate Forum. So uh, thank you for creating that because it made a very deep impression on me, and we have continued as a group to make ripples, and we will participate again this year. So this community, the big umbrella of Eco America, Blessed Tomorrow, One Home, One Future, give that work meaning. So let's look together specifically at how we can make our holidays joyful and sustainable. Yeah. I'd like to ask you to, since it's a small group, you can unmute, or if you're more comfortable, put it in the chat, to please tell us what the upcoming holidays mean to you in your role as some of you are clergy, some of you are lay people, is what I'm gathering from the chat. So when you're thinking about it, you have a role.
I would say one for me will be cook.
Okay.
Mm.
For me, it's connector. That for me, the Thanksgiving holiday is by definition interfaith, and being a very small minority here uh, in Gainesville, um, the Christmas holiday is also interfaith.
I think for me, cooking is part of it. My niece actually asked me for a Christmas gift of teaching her how to make my mom's apple pie.
Oh, wow.
That was her Christmas gift. So we're trying to actually get away from stuff and going into experiences. And we are going to videotape it. So the Saturday, pray for me, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, we're actually going to do her Christmas gift of teaching her how to make this apple pie.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I,
we
I,
would love it if you would share that with us if you decide you want to. That is
We'll
beautiful.
see how that works, how great it works out.
that's
I
it.
mean, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so glad you shared that, Sister Mary. When we talk about a sustainable holiday, we don't mean doing without. We mean exactly what you just shared. So, and honestly, we didn't do this ahead of time.
No, no.
We talk about celebrating in ways that will keep joy alive for generations to come. And you have, my goodness, you've just done that. Um, I want to define sustainability because this was built as sustainable holidays. It sounds technical, but at heart, it's very simple. It's how do we meet what we need today without harming tomorrow? That's simple. And of course, the word holiday comes from the word holy day. And every one of our traditions teaches us gratitude. It teaches us moderation and teaches us reverence for life. Every single one in the gallery boxes, we share that completely. So to be sure, when you hear sustainability, it could maybe put a slight damper on your anticipation of what those holidays are going to mean to you. We're not doing any guilt trips today. I'm just inviting you to find some laughter, a little meaning, and maybe a little less trash. So, um, I'd like Carol to ask you to picture your favorite holiday and talk about that.
Yeah, I think many of us, because it is the next holiday, first holiday around the corner is Thanksgiving that many of us will celebrate. But if you were to picture, it doesn't have to be, it can be Thanksgiving, but it could be any holiday, and it doesn't have to just be in this coming up close season. But what makes you feel holy around a holiday moment? I will share that when my children were all still at home, we had a lot of family traditions, and they connected me to older family, my childhood, and I hope that my own children will continue some of those traditions in their own homes. And so that we've already talked about connections, but that really warms my heart. Anybody else have an image or a moment and what makes it feel holy for you?
Mine is a sound image of the holiday songs at church, or even things like Over the River and Through the Woods. uh, Things that are simple songs that children can sing. just makes that holiday resonate more with joyfulness and sharing.
Nice.
My family and I used to go Christmas caroling during the Christmas season. I'm the oldest of six, and we're all musical. So it was not hard for us to do that. And I can remember a number of people in our church who were not expecting us, and the looks on their faces most of the time was just, from sort of a blah, it's the evening, what am I doing here? To like, oh, how wonderful. So it gave us a lot of joy to do the caroling, but we spread a lot of joy too.
I love that. That's another connector. I used to take my youth group caroling when I was pastoring, and that connects you as you're singing and moving. That connects the group too. That's beautiful, Sarah. Anybody else?
Well, what makes me feel holy is when I light my Advent candles and say prayers around the wreath.
Mm.
Oh,
We can feel it. We feel it. We feel the holiness that each of you identifies with. In my Jewish tradition, uh, I keep in mind the concept of tikkun olam. It means repair the world in Hebrew. You're familiar with that, I'm sure. And I keep it, as they say, a frontlet between my eyes when I am pulled to buy a bigger, more expensive gift, to get the expensive meal and not cook. I am pulled in many, many directions during the holidays to do things that do not follow my moral compass. And so I keep Tikkun Olam focusing me and grounded in, what the holidays are supposed to be about. And I think about this stuff all the time, and I am still pulled and tempted. So we've got another slide.
oh,
Yeah, go ahead. Somebody wanted to say something.
they hear me.
Eric, could you advance one, please? Yeah, there we go. Okay. We talked a little bit about what sustainability meant. And so what I wanted to do is see if we can identify, of course, this is me, but not you. If we're looking at, for example, some of the habits Americans have. Yeah, let's talk about gifts. Two or three people just shout out what we do about gifts. Not you, of course, but Americans.
I'm looking forward to making a gift for one of my sisters for Christmas.
Mary, that's great. You're great. You are not the people we're talking about. How about your neighbors? How about your relatives? How about folks in your respective congregations? What do we do here in the US? Thank you. Hold on to that thought about making gifts, Mary.
Can I say we overspend and underthink about it?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
We
Yes.
and very well put.
we are the advertiser's dream.
Mhm.
The people
Yeah.
who make those ads, I said when my son was little, he wanted everything he saw on TV, including the Barbie doll, because the ad was so good. I said, "You're an advertiser's dream." Of course, he's 5 years old. He's looking at me like, "Huh?" But that's who we are. We fall right into their hands.
Great, thank you. Eric, next button, please. Thanks. Okay, what about food? Everyone's been talking about what they look forward to and what their role is. What do our neighbors, our congregants, the people across the street, what's one of our US holidays around food?
Thanks, Thanksgiving, obviously. Um, but one thing that we just did in our congregation, we've had a tradition of having a Thanksgiving meal the second Sunday in November. And of course, ask for contributions at the meal, and the funds above the cost of the meal go toward a couple things. They go toward food vouchers for the families that we adopt for Christmas through a local nonprofit. And they go for poinsettias that we give to members in our congregation and community that have experienced loss during the year.
Mm.
And also, they can sometimes go for additional gifts. Like I said, we adopt families through this local nonprofit, and this year we adopted 8 families, and I think altogether there's like 26 children. And we put up an angel tree with tags, where people can select a gift to purchase, one or more, etc., and then bring them back. And this is a community-wide event, and we participate in this. But the really special thing that has developed over the years is that our children and young people now do a dinner in February came around Valentine's Day, and it's called the Angel Tree Dinner. And so the money they raise there allows them to adopt one of the families, that the outreach committee has chosen, and they get to go shopping for this family in November and pick out the gifts. And, all these recommendations are there on the little tags.
This is amazing, Marilyn. Amazing. So you know what? The way that we conceived of talking about this isn't working for this group. You are already there. So let's just look at the categories. Hold what you and Mary have just said, because you're really right there for where we're heading with this, to kind of paint a picture, not for ourselves, obviously. This is not a group for Henny. Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much, Eric. So these are all of the areas that are impacted that look at sustainability. And the idea of looking at these, just as the 2 speakers have just done, you're working towards joy and beauty for the next round of people, for the next round of holidays, and for the people whom you touch. I wanted to give you something to think about if you're going to use this program in your own holiday conversations. And I haven't looked at the skit kit. I wish I had, because this might have fit, Carol. But I want you to think about some things that you could build into the conversations you're going to have. Recycling for sure. The lifespan of what you buy. There's a conversation, of course, about Christmas trees, natural Christmas trees, plastic Christmas trees, sustainable Christmas trees, alternative Christmas trees. That, not to say there's any one right way, but to think about the lifespan of what you're buying. Because the way that our world works and the habits most Americans have is we extract, we manufacture, we use, and we dispose. And our landfills get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the plastic gyre, the giant Pacific garbage patch, gets bigger and bigger. And we have to start not giving something up, but rethinking how we use what we have already extracted. And to think about biological sources, which can be composted. And I've got a cute slide coming up in a little bit about that. We need to think about upcycling, which means taking something and doing something different with it than was intended for it. A quilt out of scraps of fabric, if you are a sewer. And also the usage intensity. Is this designed for one use and it goes in a closet for the rest of the year? Mm-hmm. Or can you use it in other ways? So these are a way to shift your thinking. Well, you're already on that page, to help other people move there. Our faith traditions have a moral compass. It points north. Deuteronomy 20:19 is one of the verses I really love. It says, "Do not destroy the trees, for you may eat from them." Now, that verse had to do with war. And if you're going to go to war, do not destroy the trees, because you're going to eat from them. But that has become an extended Jewish value called Ba'al Tashit. It's the call to avoid waste, to protect sources of life itself. So I've got room on the frontlet for that, along with Tikkun Olam. Carol? would you like to see if there's a favorite injunction or verse that you would like to share, or if anyone on the
Oh, sure. I'm sure we all have our favorite texts. One of my favorites is from Job, and that is to ask the animals, and they will teach you. I've already mentioned that I live in the woods, and I really look to the animals a lot. And recently, my newest passion are beavers, but that can be a whole nother conversation. But we also often, use Psalm 24 and the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. We could also, of course, go to Genesis and know that all of us are created from the dirt, from the soil, from the dust, translated differently. And then also I really love Genesis 1, where the Spirit of God, which also can be translated as breath, goes out to begin creation and imbuing everything that is created with holiness, with sacredness.
Thank you. Is there anyone who also has one that they hold in front of them that you'd like to share? Okay, thank you. Next slide, please.
Mm.
So, um, keep your eye on the bottom, which is a time clock, 1881 to 2024. The upper left quadrant has the United States. I just want you to watch it and then share a word or two about what watching this, the impact this may or may not have had on you.
Mm. Oh my God.
Okay, do you mind telling us a little more about that? Why the oh my God? What did it do?
Oh, I mean, it makes you sad and scared at the same time that we can allow this kind of damage to occur to our beautiful earth. I mean, here we sit just watching it happen, and most of us feel pretty helpless about it.
Yeah, sad and scared and powerless is definitely an appropriate response to that. Maybe one other person, another response. Yeah, Linda, are you trying to say something? No. I thought I saw your hand go up.
One thing that I often this video is part of our climate ambassador training, and so I see it frequently. But one of the things that is tiny bit hopeful for me is that really the heat really started in the 1950s. And then it's the 1980s that things really start ramping up. And so, I graduated from high school and college in the 1980s. That wasn't that long ago. So there's also a tiny bit of hope in this that we can, given the same amount of time and a lot of folks gathering together, can make a real difference.
Yeah. And I would add that I'm over the shock of it, having now seen it 1,000 times. And now I'm curious. And so I'm going to invite you to hold the hope. Do not deny the sad and the scared, or the what can we do about it? And let's take a look at why. What's going on? Yeah, you have to, yeah, there you go. So this is an interesting graphic. There's what God created, which is on the left, whether you believe it came full blown or whether you believe it evolved. This is what worked until we started wrecking it. And what you're seeing is sunlight coming in as ultraviolet light. And when it hits our ocean and our land, it turns into heat. And the red lines radiating out are what's supposed to happen. our atmosphere has small, like really small, minuscule, infinitesimally small amounts of carbon dioxide and other gases that trap heat. It traps just enough heat to allow life to exist as we know it, as we knew it. And you'll notice that the Earth is surrounded by a light blue heat trapping blanket, and that some of the heat radiates back. And that has allowed us over the 200,000 years of human history, and yes, it's been ice age and not ice age, but it's allowed civilization to really form in the last 10,000 years. So really, humans have a very short existence as non-nomadic people. And that is what regular carbon dioxide does. If you shift your gaze to rampant carbon dioxide, you will notice that rather than a couple of natural forest fires and a volcano or two, we now have planes, trains, and automobiles and cows and industry. And what's happening is that the carbon dioxide is not just something we breathe out and plants take in. It's something that gets put into the air when we burn coal for our electricity, or use oil for our transportation or manufacturing, or natural gas for, again, energy or heating our homes and cooking. All of those things are burning dead animals, and that's releasing their carbon into our atmosphere. And because carbon dioxide is a heat trapping, acts like a heat trapping blanket, we're getting hotter and hotter. And you can see that the atmosphere is now much redder on rampant than it was on regular. It's that heat that accumulates in all the wrong places, excuse me, like our ocean, and it causes all the problems that we see in the climate and ecosystems. Look, we have to have regular levels of carbon dioxide because plants produce the oxygen that we depend on for life. But we have to start reducing those rampant levels of carbon dioxide. So holler out some of the impacts that you already know that all that extra carbon dioxide and heat are creating, maybe where you live. Nobody's in Florida but me, right? And Sarah. So we got lots of them, but what's impacting you guys where you live? What can you tell that's different? And Carol, you probably want to repeat what you said earlier about the 50s and the 80s.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I was just going to name as you were saying this is I grew up, my grandparents were in the mountains of Kentucky, and I grew up spending my holidays there. And those are very precious memories. That very place in 2022 was the whole town flooded. The 45 people lost their lives, lots of people lost their homes. And so you know, due to both deforestation and mountaintop removal and climate change coming together has been really traumatic and disastrous for the mountains of eastern Kentucky and down into where Jane is and all of the Appalachian Mountains.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is Jane now, and I was going to talk about yeah, I don't live in Florida anymore, but I live in Asheville, North Carolina now, and we had a hurricane in the mountains, which we
Yes.
used to be called the Climate Haven, and we had a lot of climate refugees moving here, but that has changed a lot.
Yes, that was horrible. And I too have dear friends who have been very, very seriously impacted. Well, everybody.
Mm.
So this is not about depressing you. It's about helping people that you speak with connect the dot between what we do. We're narrowing it to what we do around the holidays, but everything we do that releases a little more carbon dioxide or methane into our atmosphere makes the difference. And it will take collective action to fix it. Let's move on to the next slide because I promise you not to depress you and not to make you feel guilty. Okay, so here you go. If ants, wait a minute, where are you? Wait. Yeah, there we go. There literally are 20 quadrillion ants on the planet. Their body mass outweighs the human body mass, and there are only like 10 billion. Well, we're pushing 10 billion, almost 9 billion humans. So the ants collectively have more body weight than all of us, and they produce zero waste. Everything that comes into an ant gets recycled. So really, if ants ran the holidays, there would be no Black Friday, just reuse Thursday. Ants are cleaners and gleaners, and their waste is biodegradable, and they return what they take from the environment and they return it back into the environment. They have what's called, believe it or not, a circular economy, and that's an actual thing in economics and design building and construction. Excuse me while I ask my cat, please stop doing his cat thing. So nature doesn't do waste. The circular economy, if we think about it, means designing our human systems, our manufacturing, and our consumption, and our recycling and upcycling and repurposing to work the same way. Nothing is wasted, everything is shared. And Marilyn described the sharing that your congregation seems to be quite amazingly proactive about, as much biological as we can. So you jumped ahead to this next area, and Carol's going to kind of see if she can organize all of the amazing ideas that you had said, and let's see if we can fit them in. And Eric, I know we said we wanted to build, but perhaps let's pop them all up because this group's already on it.
I just put in the chat, which you all don't have to look at it now, but just a reminder that we do have a page on One Home One Future called Sustainable Holidays. And I love Ellen's list here because there's so many different ways that we can make an impact. And probably collectively, we all have so many ways and then ideas that we can share. But I already love that Sister Mary told us of the experience of teaching how to make an apple pie and recording that. That is so beautiful, and what a gift to give. Are there other gifts that you all do that you think the rest of us could learn from that you might want to share with us?
I have a similar gift that I share with my granddaughter who just happens to come. It's on the 4th of July, and it just happens her family is here at my house at that time. And so she and I bake her birthday cake together.
Nice.
Oh,
But she's still pretty young, so
That's
not
beautiful.
ready to do it herself yet.
that's neat.
Wonderful. Are there others? I know sometimes people will give experiences, and that might be going on a particular like small jaunt, a little trip, maybe it's a bike ride or a hike, or I know that sometimes people give like cooking classes, which I think is so fun. But thinking about experiences that we will remember. We don't really remember the stuff very often. I remember my first bike, but mostly I don't remember my gifts as I grew up, but the experiences, the places and things. And then what about food? How do you all do, how do you pause and how are you mindful about the food that you eat and serve at the holidays? Does anybody have any ways that they kind of center sustainability or circular economy? I can tell you that I really center foods that are local to Kentucky. And so I make it a point to get all the foods that I'm able for them to be from farms here in Kentucky. And I have a great time doing that. And of course, the food always tastes better as well. So I can highly recommend that.
Well, I'm Pennsylvania Dutch
Oh, yeah.
by background, and we don't waste much of anything. They say we used every part of the pig but the squeal, right? Um, sorry. So, we do still eat, we're not really all plant-based. We do try to go towards that side of plant-based side dishes, actually taking more of a center stage than the dried out old turkey, but it's still there. So we get to use all that's for leftovers and for other ways and freeze things so that we don't waste them.
Yes.
And yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother always said, "Waste not, want not," and
Right.
I think that all the time.
Yeah.
What about any kind of decorations for any holidays? This is open to all. Do you all have ways that you decorate that are sustainable or that you would want to share?
Well,
My
a couple things. We get a we at one time cut down our own trees, either on our own place or at a
Hmm.
Christmas tree farm. But in more recent years, we purchased them through a local Optimist club because they use the proceeds from their sale of Christmas trees and wreaths to develop and fund programs for young people.
Nice.
Wouldn't otherwise have various kinds of experiences.
I
And
love that.
in terms of food, we garden and I freeze a lot of like tomato sauce and various kinds of peppers and so forth. So throughout the year, we always incorporating that into our meals and often do that in the winter, like with chilies and so forth, making
Yes.
various kinds of chili for and having friends over and things like that. So
Nice. That's beautiful. Um, And then, travel is always one thing with and during the holidays that is a challenge. We know that flying, there are some places that we just wouldn't be able to visit family unless we flew. So again, as Ellen said, no guilt or judgment here, but just being thoughtful about the ways that we travel as much as we can, is important. And then we've already been talking, several of you have mentioned hospitality through various things for those who often don't have a place to go. I no longer host a big Thanksgiving or really any holidays since my kids are all grown and doing their own thing. But when they were growing up, I always made a point to try to find somebody who didn't have family or friends or an invitation and have one, two, three, four, five folks who would join our family for the holidays. And so that is always such a blessing and fun to do. Does anybody else have anything? I'm mindful of the time, but does anybody else have anything to add to this?
No,
Tips?
this group is already it's already on it. So the challenge really for you is how do you encourage other people to do this? So how do you bring it home?
Mm.
So if I could throw some ideas to you. Also, since I don't know you all, could you just raise your hand either virtually or real, in real, like that, like your real. Um, how many are you actually are lay leaders or clergy that you have a bully pulpit?
Oh,
Mm.
Oh, you're in. Oh, okay.
yeah, kind of, yeah.
Three. Okay. So the rest of you have an interesting challenge here. If we're going to bring it home, Eric, do you want to go to the bring it home slide? Thanks. Yeah. If you're going okay, a clergy person has a pulpit. So, piece of cake, you got it, you can do it. Um, for those of you who understand this and are here for this challenging conversation, can you give some thought to how might you bring this to your
Mm.
faith community and to your family in a way that is non-judgmental and inviting? I'm trying to model that to some extent, that follows the moral compass you all share, and that's kind of where I tried to start. My compass happens to be in Hebrew, yours is in English, but it's the same direction. So can you use that as a jumping off point for that? Can you do a column for your newsletter if you're not in a position to do the sermon? Can you put something in your local newspaper? In Gainesville, it's really easy, right, Sarah, to put something in our local newspaper because
There's almost no local newspaper really, though.
well, yeah, they're all very small, and some are weekly and not daily, but it's easy to do. If so, that's a thought. Um, and then challenge the youth and the children in your lives and in your congregations, as many of you are already doing. I think probably Marilyn should do a separate webinar on what you all are doing. You can think of more, but my challenge, and I am also mindful of the time, just imagine if every church, every mosque, every synagogue, every fellowship hall hosted one of these conversations. Imagine how those individual actions will ripple, imagine, into a planetary blessing.
Yes.
That's the power of we. And for that, I would like to share a quote from Sayings of the Fathers. Again, I'm drawing on my own tradition. It's Pirkei Avot 221. I remind myself of this when I start to get overwhelmed because I am committing this third and last part of my life to cooling this fevered planet by initiating conversations wherever and however I can. So I appreciate this opportunity to engage this group. The saying goes like this, and I'm sure you've heard of it. It is not for you to complete the task, but neither are you free to desist from it. The choice we make is small, and together we can impact the story of the world. We can ripple into a planetary blessing. So never doubt that you can make a difference, however terrible or opposite the world seems to be. Okay, next slide, please. And with that, we'd like to close the formal part of this. I do have an invitation for you afterwards. So thank you, Carol, in your reverend capacity. I appreciate the blessing, a prayer.
Thank you, Ellen. Just be in a spirit of prayer with me. We just ask your blessings again on what we've learned. May it ruminate in our hearts and minds and cause us to ripple out what we have discussed and learned today so that many other people might be encouraged and enriched as well. Amen.
Thank you. Exactly. As Catherine Hayhoe says, she is a evangelical Christian and a very joyful climate scientist. Kind of hard to be joyful when you're a climate scientist because you know too much. But, she says, just talk about it. Just normalize the conversation that the world is warming and it has impacts, and our actions are some of those impacts. So thank you for the opportunity to introduce you to the CLEO Institute. We are a Florida-centric organization hoping to go national. We work towards bold climate action, and we want to ensure a just and equitable future for everyone. Our goal is reducing heat-trapping gas emissions, and we want to make conversations like this a normal, urgent goal, the way civil rights was, or tobacco, or gay marriage. This is a social movement on the same level and facing the same headwinds as all of the other major social movements of our times. So,
Yes, thank you so much, Ellen. I invite everybody to join me in thanking Ellen, whether it be literal claps or you can do the virtual claps. And thank you also, Eric, for your tech support here. And we can stop recording now. And I wanted to